Hi, my name's Kamana and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV, where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. Today's class is question and answer from the public, and this question comes from Anonymous, and they're saying, I really love tea and coffee. Can I understand more about these and how could I make them more healthy for my body? So first, just let's have a look at what tea and coffee does inside the mind body. Because of the substance caffeine inside them, it tends to create a head dominance. So they talk about this within the Vedic system. Are we leading ourselves from our head dominance, or are we leading ourselves from our heart dominance? And they would say within the Vedic system that the seat of the mind was the heart, that this was the best place to be leading the body from. And they've done studies at the University of HeartMath in America, and what they've shown is that there is a lot of nervous system cells that are within the heart. And the heart is also a thinking brain as well. And this difference within the heart mind is that it's more intuitive, it's more harmonizing. It's less about striving out there, it's less about distracted from the senses, whereas the head mind is more like go, next, senses, opportunity. So caffeine stimulates a little bit more of this head mind, which is known as a more Rajasic center, Rajasic desire, moving forward. It's a little bit more ego-centered when we're in this Rajasic type mind. If you want to know more about Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva, their lenses related to the mind, we've got a whole class on that, and we'll link it up in the show notes below. So first we've got to look and go, if we're using coffee and tea inside the body, they'll tend to be more mind-orientated, more Rajasic, to create more desire, more action in our life. And I'm now going to go through having a look at the most potent, the most Rajasic, the most head-dominant coffee, and I'm going to progress down towards green tea and show their different medicinal benefits, how they could benefit the body, and where they could also create a lot of challenges for the body. So the first one, we'll start with coffee. And within Ayurveda, the first way that we assess a substance is based upon its taste. There's 6 medicinal tastes that are used in Ayurveda. We've got a class that goes through the 6 medicinal tastes. Again, we'll link that up in the show notes below if you want to go into that. The taste of coffee is predominantly bitter, and bitter tends to aggravate the Vata dosha and tends to balance Pitta and Kapha dosha. Yet we'll go more specific once we go past the bitter. The bitter substance cleanses, draws downwards and out inside the body. It's generally detoxifying, it's lightening and reducing. So coffee has all of those properties, and in small amounts could be beneficial if we want a lighter body, if we want to dry the system out, if we want to detoxify and reduce. Yet as we go into its more specific qualities, it has the quality of wind and fire. Now, the wind element will aggravate Vata. The fire element works more with metabolism throughout the tissues and less with increasing digestive fire. It tends to disturb digestive fire. So this is not fire element within what we call Jatra Agni, the digestive tract Agni. This is fire element within the tissue, and particularly Meda Dhatu tissue, the fat metabolizing tissue. So people like me that have a very high fat metabolism already, I have like 0% fat on my body. If I drink a little bit of coffee, my body starts to sweat straight away. My body is metabolizing fat and just sweating it out instantly. The tissue metabolism is already really high in me, meaning not ideal to drink coffee. Now we go into its specific qualities. The qualities that could aggravate Vata are the drying quality and the mobile quality. It makes the mind mobile, jump from one thing to the next thing. It makes the digestive tract mobile. It stimulates peristaltic motion, and it's why it's a laxative for many people. So if those qualities are already dominant in you, mobile quality in the mind, dryness in the body, I have a lot of ideas, a lot of direction, I move around a lot, coffee is not going to work for my Vata. Dry is the specific quality of Vata that aggravates in me the most. Then the next quality about coffee is that it's heating. Now, this is contradictory to most bitter tastes. The majority of bitter tastes are cooling in their nature, yet coffee is heating in its nature. It stimulates a lot of function inside the liver, which creates a lot of heat. This caffeine needs to be digested and processed by the liver, and there's other alkaloids inside coffee that also need to be processed by the liver. So this can stimulate a lot of heat and can make coffee not the best bitter substance choice for pitta. So it could aggravate vata, and it definitely aggravates vata, I should say, and it could also aggravate pitta if the heat quality is the key imbalancing point for you. For me, my imbalance point for pitta is heat and sharp. So coffee, not an ideal substance for me. It could be great for some kapha individuals, and we'll talk about the balanced use of coffee as we come towards the end. The next one I come to is black tea. So black tea has similar properties to coffee in the sense that it is also bitter, and it has a little bit more astringency to it than coffee does. This astringency means that it can sometimes have more of a constipative effect inside the bowels, rather than coffee has more of a sharp, purifying effect inside the body. Black tea is not as bitter. Within the context of the elements, its dominant elements are still wind and fire, yet it's not as much wind and it's not as much fire as what coffee is. In the context of fire, it's still within tissue metabolism. It does not stimulate digestive fire, jatra agni fire inside the body. So if we're having digestive system imbalances, both coffee and black tea are not the most ideal for the digestive tract in terms of their digestive supporting properties. So be aware of that. Also, coffee has a lot more reproductive dryness to it. Same with black tea, yet coffee even more. If you're having challenges within the reproductive system, black tea and coffee are not the medicines for those systems. Black tea is not very heating though. Depending on the types of black tea and the fermentation processes involved, it's generally quite neutral in its properties. So being bitter and astringent and having a little bit more wind quality to it, black tea now becomes more suitable for pitta. It's still the most balancing for kapha, yet those with a bit of pitta dominance could also be enjoying some black tea, and it'd be quite beneficial for them most of the time. And our last one is green tea. Now, green tea is much more neutral and calm than these other two. It's not as stimulating. It doesn't have the same response inside the mind. If you sit down to a green tea, it has a little bit more of this Zen type feeling to it. It's the reason it's been the chosen drink throughout China by many monks, and it's been used amongst ceremony because it has what's called a sattvic effect upon the mind. It's more harmonizing towards the mind. Yet it's still going to have a head dominance. It still rises up. It stimulates this part of the body more, but it harmonizes the mind. It still has the drying qualities to it. It's a diuretic. It still has the astringening properties, so it's not good if you're not going to the toilet, the bowel's not functioning well. It still is not digestive enhancing, yet it stimulates tissue metabolism. It has lots of antioxidants. It's a much better balanced choice than the black tea and the coffee. And especially if you've got pitta or kapha as your dominant dosha, green tea could be a great daily choice. Yet when I say daily choice, I really like to think about each herb or substance that we use probably shouldn't be used all the time. And I'm going to talk about now the balanced use of what are the best ways to use these substances in your life. So for these substances, as all of them tend to aggravate vata, if we are vata dominant or it's the vata season, so this autumn to winter period, then I'm going to be looking at once or twice a month. For me, even a small amount of it, I can feel it straight away. It doesn't feel good for my body. I'm not going to be using coffee or tea hardly at all. Sometimes I'm in Italy and I've just eaten a heavy, damp meal, maybe a pasta, a lasagna type dish, and then I'll have a small little coffee at the end of that, and it feels quite balancing in that cooler environment after that heavy meal. Yet otherwise, I really avoid coffee most of the time. So if vata is up, maybe once or twice a month. If pitta is excessive for you, either in body type or it's the summer season, then maybe we're looking at once or twice a week or less. If kapha is dominant for you, it could be every day, yet it would be ideal if it's taken before 10 a.m. and after breakfast. If we have coffee first thing in the morning before we put anything into the digestive tract, it's much more likely to influence problems in Jatara Agni, the first digestive tract Agni. So try to have breakfast first and then have a small coffee just after breakfast. We could also make these much more balanced, particularly coffee, by adding in more fats and oils to them. So there's a common fad that's going on about the bulletproof coffee where they'd add a certain amount of a specific type of processed coconut oil to it. You could just be using any coconut oil or ghee, and fats within the coffee is going to make it a lot less drying towards the body. It's going to decrease its stimulating effects on the nervous system and slow down that response in the body. Also, cardamom is a great digestive enhancer that tends to work really well with coffee. So you could brew your coffee, black tea, or other things with a little bit of cardamom in there as well, and they will help to offset the digestive upsetting properties of black tea, coffee, and to some degree green tea as well. So in summary, there can be some great benefits to coffee, black tea, and green tea. They're going to be detoxifying, reducing. So if your body is already on the lighter, thinner side with dryness, then I would much prefer to use beverages like licorice tea that are moistening and lubricating, nervous system calming teas like chamomile, digestive enhancing teas like peppermint and ginger. These will be much more suitable for the Vata dominant individuals out there. Yet Ayurveda says every substance can be used as medicine. It's just about time, season, place, and individual. So have a look at those qualities and see what's right for you in the moment. Don't get stuck on one thing and an addictive habit that goes all year round. Otherwise, enjoy it for a few weeks, and move on to something more balancing. I hope this class has been beneficial for you. And if it has, maybe share it with others who it could also help out too. If you've got any questions for something personal related to yourself, then we'd love to help you out and create some specific steps on your path to health. You can submit your questions on holisticnomads.com/ask, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube below so you'll be notified when your question is answered. Until next time, all the best. Today's class is question and answer from the public. And this question comes from Anonymous. And it says, I really like caffeine.